So, Dad, I think the big news in hockey beside the women was the Kotkaniemi signing or offer.
Revenge, you mean?
Revenge, yeah. Well, and so what's your whole thing with a 5-goal scorer from Montreal ended up making $6.1 million?
In 56 games, he got 5 goals. I wrote this down. Jasper Kotkaniemi, he is now with the Carolina Hurricanes. He's making $6.1 million. Don't forget the $1 million. I know that.
No, it's not 6.1. I think it's $6 million, and then they gave him a $20 signing bonus.
Well,
yeah.
What's a million?
What's a million, right? What's $100,000, right?
But Montreal receives first and third, and they drafted him third. So they. But this is revenge. This is revenge. Remember Aho and Sebastian Aho. He's a pretty good hockey player.
Yeah, he was their best player.
Yeah,
at the time,
and he got goals last year too.
Yeah.
He did really well. And Montreal drafted.
Well, they gave him an offer sheet.
Give you an offer sheet. Now you're not supposed to do this. It's an old. It's a thing in the National Hockey League that nobody.
So maybe we should say what an offer sheet is. So an offer sheet is when a player isn't a free agent and but his contract's up. So what happened with Kotkaniemi was his contract was up. He was in negotiations with Montreal, but he couldn't go anywhere else. Like he could just go to Montreal.
He's
restricted. So, but there is a thing that a team can come in, like the Hurricanes could come in and give him an offer sheet, and then saying, "Well, we'll sign you for $6 million for 1 year," and then Montreal has 1 week to match it, and if they don't, they get a first pick and then a third pick in the thing. And what happened was years ago, Montreal, Bergeron, did that to Sebastian Aho, gave him $42 million.
Ooh.
And
who could match that?
So the Canes matched it. They didn't want to.
Were they mad?
They did
and
match
were
it.
they
because
mad?
Oh,
they were mad because it's a unwritten rule that you don't do that. And Bergeron knew he was a good hockey player. He took a shot, and they matched it. So Tim, they matched. I mean, the guy gets 5 goals. I'll give you his. But say what they said.
Yeah, so they got 5 goals. So it's funny, people say, well, it's not revenge. This is professional hockey, right? So
it's
here
revenge.
was when they did the offer sheet when Marc Bergeron gave the offer sheet to Sebastian Aho, this was his press release. Sebastian Aho accepted our offer. He wants to come to Montreal. He sees our youngsters coming up in the organization, and he wants to be part of that. We're proud, but there'll still be a waiting period. So this is what Carolina put out after they did the same thing to Montreal.
Same.
So Jasper Kotkaniemi accepted our offer. He wants to come to Carolina. He sees the core we have built and wants to be part of that. We're proud, but there's still a waiting period. So it's exactly the same press release. And so the rumor was that the owner of the Carolina was waiting in the weeds for this.
So Montreal wouldn't match it, right? Is that what you're saying?
When you five guy got 5 goals.
5 goals.
5 goals, and he did pretty good in the playoffs. He got 5.
The one thing I wanted to ask
Nice to have that kind of money, that you can.
Can you imagine his agent phoning him and say, "You won't believe this.
Hit the
Listen to this.
jackpot."
How would you like to make $6 million
What do they say
next
about
year?"
revenge is sweet?
Yeah. The one thing though, Dad, like I gotta say, Kotkaniemi didn't dress the first game in the playoffs.
No, he didn't.
So he comes back and then he scores. I think did he get the winner or assisted? I think he got the winner. Got the winner. And then the next couple of games back in Montreal or back in Toronto, he scored and he ended up having 3 goals. And he looked up into the stands. That was in Toronto. He looked up into the stands and there was nobody there, right? There's nobody in the stands. And he went like 3. So who was he? Was he doing that to Bergeron?
No, I don't think he'd have the nerve enough to do that to Bergeron. Fool around with them. I'd say he was doing that too as one of his guys he wasn't playing with. Because what happens is when guys don't play, that's why I never wanted players around that weren't playing. They band together, like I should be playing. And I would say that when he held up his third goal, he was looking at one of his teammates that were sitting up in the stands.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time when you were coaching Boston, it was in the semifinals against Montreal, and you kind of waved at Harry after.
Oh, that was well, what happened there was, well, I guess Harry doesn't get, I don't know whether I should say this, but John Rattel never played good against Montreal. Don't ask me why. I mean, he should have been playing good against Montreal because Montreal. And Harry reminded me of it, and I told Schmatzy, and he sent a letter,
Look, let's get into it. I mean, Harry's not going to get mad. He sent you a letter or a note saying
we weren't even talking. Imagine not even talking.
You
to
guys
your
So
general
the
manager.
coach and the GM are just passing notes to each other because you're not.
Well,
talking.
I never passed notes, but he did. He passed that note.
He said, "Don't dress Rattel."
Yeah, don't dress Rattel.
Is this in Montreal or is this in?
No, it's in Boston.
It's in
Boston, Game 6.
No, Harry was well. Anyhow, and I showed the letter to Schmatzy. Schmatzy took the letter, showed it to Rattel, and he got a hat trick that night.
Nothing like motivation.
Well, I didn't care. Just win, 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 win. That's the name of the game, and I'm sure Harry.
Well, then when Rattel got the hat trick, what did you do?
Well, Bobby Schmatz, who I seem to get in trouble with all the time,
Who egged you
one
on.
way or another, said, "Why don't you wave to Harry?" So I waved to Harry, and they had it on television.
It was on TV. They showed that
waving
clip
to Harry,
all the
and
time.
Harry knew
I remember watching it saying, "Who's Dad waving to?"
Yeah,
It wasn't
What
Mom,
a
because Mom
kook.
sat on the other side.
that's right. Like
What a
who's up
kook.
there that Dad would know?
The only thing I ever cared about when I was coach, I guess I would have liked myself, is to win.